Now, it's been 1 year since Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah was killed in an Israeli airstrike on Lebanon's capital, Beirut. The Lebanese government has pledged to disarm the Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah, which is listed as a terrorist organisation by countries including the United States and Germany. But Hezbollah's new leaders say they won't hand over their weapons until Israel stops its airstrikes and withdraws completely from southern Lebanon. Despite a US-brokered ceasefire, the situation in Lebanon remains fragile. DW's Beirut Bureau Chief Mohamad Chreyteh gained rare access to border towns on the front line of the conflict.
Along the border between Lebanon and Israel, there's very few signs of life. We are embedded with the UN peacekeepers during their watch on what's called the Blue Line.
You can see the gate over there. This. Yeah. Yes, okay.
Violations of the ceasefire agreement occur daily, a brigade officer tells me.
This is the last Lebanese army checkpoint on the western sector. Behind me is the wall that separates Lebanon and Israel. This wall has been here for years, obviously, but recently, during the last war, the Israeli military built a gate that you can see over there that gives the military access through tanks and troops to Lebanese territory.
The UN mission, UNIFIL, has been helping the Lebanese army to disarm Hezbollah in the south of Lebanon. It's part of a last November's ceasefire agreement that also stipulated Israel should withdraw by the end of January this year. But after the deadline expired, Israel's military announced it would remain in strategic locations inside Lebanon along the border for security reasons.
The situation still remains tense. We're seeing a lot of violations, particularly from the Israeli side, drone strikes. We see the Israel Defense Forces that have a presence in 5 different positions that they've maintained in Lebanese territory, along with 2 buffer zones. And we're continuing to discover arms caches that have been left behind every day.
The peacekeeping forces are also under pressure from local residents who often block their patrols. They believe that UNIFIL is serving Israeli interests in the area.
Do you see this military post behind the tree?
It's pointing out at the Israeli military position very close here behind this tree. It's like 40 meters away from here. This is definitely inside Lebanese territory.
These violations have hit residents in the border communities hardest. Hadi Awada's family home was destroyed by the Israeli military, like nearly all the houses in Kfar Kala. He's retrieving whatever is left of his family's life here.
It's very painful, and it's a disgrace that the Israeli soldiers come in whenever they want and continue to blow up houses. I have nothing to do with arms and militias. I'm a farmer, and I want to take care of my land, despite the destruction. I still want to be here. That's the message I want to send by being here. I don't feel safe, but what's the alternative? To start a new life somewhere else and forget that I'm from here and that I own land here? That doesn't make sense.
Lebanon and Israel share an 81-kilometer border. But because of the ongoing hostilities between the 2 countries, it's not officially demarcated. We drive further north, away from the border. Even here, Israel's continued airstrikes have bolstered Hezbollah's narrative that the militia is needed to defend the country.
This town, Kafr Ruman, has long been considered a stronghold for secular and leftist Shiites, very critical of Hezbollah. But the pressure from Israel is mounting and the mood is changing. Some here, even those most outspoken against Hezbollah, now feel that the entire Shiite community is being targeted and not just the militant group.
A few kilometers away from Israel's wall, the Staiha, or terrace social space, is hosting a seed-swapping workshop and film screening.
It means a lot to us as villagers. We are very attached to our roots and land, and we won't leave it. That's why we always make sure to cultivate it. We will never leave.
Your land is your integrity, your blood, your life. and your death, your ancestors and your ethics. Whoever neglects his land has no principles.
Hadi is also here, sharing his experience with the local community. He says this event is a display of resilience and sovereignty.
We should not forget that we are the owners of this land, and it's us who will live on it and cultivate it, for we have inherited its olive trees for generations. For us, the seed represents the idea and the belief, but also food sovereignty, which gives us the right to cultivate our land and produce our food and pass it on to our children.
Lebanon is in a difficult position. On the one hand, it wants financial support from the international community and for the Israeli attacks to end. And on the other, it must convince a defiant Hezbollah to lay down its weapons. Meanwhile, these Lebanese villagers have been left bearing the brunt.
That report from our Lebanon Bureau Chief, Mohamad Chreyteh, who joins me now from Beirut. Mohamad, good to see you. It's been a year since Israel assassinated Hezbollah's leader and a host of other senior commanders. What is now left of Hezbollah? Does it remain the force to be reckoned with?
Hezbollah has received a huge blow during the last war with Israel. The group military capabilities have been significantly weakened and neutralized, probably. And one of the results is the fact that Israel continues to strike Lebanon almost on a daily basis. Hundreds have been killed since last November's ceasefires, including civilians, of course, but mostly and mainly Hezbollah operatives. And yet, the group has not retaliated with a single bullet so far. What is left of its arsenal remains quite unclear to everyone here, but the group still has a large supporters base here in Lebanon, particularly among the Shia community. It's still very present in the political sphere with its ally, the Amal party, but very often they find themselves in confrontation with all the other Lebanese groups and parties, especially since the formation of a government where Hezbollah has very, very less influence on the local and political sphere here in Lebanon. But even if we zoom out to the region, the militant group has lost its very large regional impact. It is coming under increasing pressure, particularly after the fall of the Assad regime in Syria, which resulted into cutting the supply route for Hezbollah from Tehran to Beirut. And this is widely seen, I mean, the fall down of the Assad regime is widely seen as a knockout for Hezbollah.
And having just seen it with your own eyes and made that report for us, how would you best describe the situation in southern Lebanon?
Well, there's an increasing sense of uncertainty and distress in Lebanon in general, but particularly in the southern towns in the south. It's been almost a year since the conflict nearly ended between Hezbollah and Israel, and most of the town on the front line with Israel still have not been repaired. In fact, it's been a very dangerous area, very, very dangerous. Hundreds of thousands have been unable to return to their homes, to cultivate their lands, to, rebuild their lives over there. And many of these towns, like you've seen in the report in Kfar Killa, have been completely wiped out and needs, years of rebuilding from scratch. But there's no money to do so, and there's no insurances and assurances of any sort of de-escalation whatsoever. On the contrary, tension is really mounting. We could sense it over there on the border with Israel. Israel still continues to strike Lebanon almost on a daily basis. And recently we've been hearing reports from Western diplomats, namely the American envoy Tom Barak, and Israeli military statements suggesting that Hezbollah is attempting to recover and rebuild some of its military infrastructure. And this leaves the Lebanese and Southerners with the assumption that we're heading probably towards escalation, maybe another war.
DW Beirut Bureau Chief Mohamad Chreyteh, thanks so much.